This is the Cybersecurity Risk Assessment for Group 2, Team Australia. Team members include Megan Gunther, Jasmine Hawley-Graham, Michael Hadnett, Scott Howe, and Henry Hale. This presentation is created and narrated by Megan Gunther. The purpose of the Cybersecurity Risk Assessment is to explain the protocols followed within the organization in order to ensure the highest level of security. Authentication is the verification of a user's identity to gain access to a desired location or device. The steps presented here are protocols that Team Australia follows to ensure proper authentication. Extensive password requirements refers to the format of the password, a minimum length of 7 characters including a minimum of 3 numbers. Special characters, the user's name cannot be used, and the password cannot be previously used, are all examples of protocols to be followed. The age of the password must be kept at a minimum, meaning the password cannot be changed within a certain time frame from the last password change. The organization's protocol is 24 hours. Routine password changes require users to change their password frequently. The threshold for this is set by administration. An example of a time between password changes could be monthly. For higher classified information, systems by the time between password changes may decrease. This ensures that if a malicious attacker is attempting to gain access by guessing the password, they are less likely to be able to do so. Requiring all employees to use a Common Access Card, or CAC, as a means of personal identity verification ensures that only holders have the ability to access buildings, rooms, computers, etc. Fingerprints, holders' photos, personal identity verification, and affiliation are examples of data stored in the CAC using an integrated circuit chip. This form of access is most commonly used and is a reliable security source as it can be controlled. A personal identification number, or PIN, much like the one used for banking information, adds a layer of security. This number is used to log in or access high-security locations. The PIN should not be shared and should remain something only the user knows. The authorization of each person within the organization is critical in ensuring a high level of security. Authorization is done by scanning the assigned common access cards embedded with an authorized date. Each access card allows certain access to certain places. For example, senior level administration personnel will have access to many, if not all, places within the organization, whereas lower personnel will only have access to certain rooms that pertain to the job needed. This can all be modified through an administration computer. Authorization of computers is done through passwords needed to access all programs and files. This ensures that only the intended audience is gaining access to programs and files. Access must be controlled when maintaining security in an organization. As previously discussed, all employees must use their Common Access Card to gain entrance into buildings, rooms, and machines. Numerous attacks can be deployed from disgruntled employees or past employees, thus making it imperative to collect and destroy all access cards that are no longer in use. Lost access cards must be deactivated using the administrator's program and then reported as lost property. Access control within the building of the organization extends beyond the use of common access cards. Security personnel, upon entering the building, provides the control of traffic coming in and out of the building. Security will not allow any unemployed personnel access beyond the entrance lobby. All visitors must be signed in, and security will notify the expectant of the visitor's arrival. A visitor sticker or badge will be given to easily identify that the individual is a visitor. Weaknesses in organizations are inevitable, as no organization is perfect. Examples of weaknesses are a lack of routine network scanning, failure to update softwares, especially protection softwares, and operating systems. Failure to keep the baseline security policies up to date and reviewed frequently, and a lack of incident response. A combination of these weaknesses will result in anomalies and damage done to the organization. It is recommended that the organization updates all softwares and operating system as they become available. Updates are pushed out to fix any security issues and bugs. Routine scanning of the network for vulnerabilities and network activity will bring anomalies and unauthorized port access to the attention of the appropriate group, allowing for immediate incident response. Ensuring that the security baseline policies are up to date and reviewed regularly is also another recommendation. Employing security policies should be based off of what vulnerabilities there are. For example, if there are attempts and successes with password cracking, the policies must be reviewed and updated accordingly. Continuous updates in regards to the incident response plan allow for the appropriate team to know the proper way to handle the incidents. The incident response plan should be reviewed quarterly at the very least. It is important to remember that vulnerabilities will never be completely eradicated, but an organization taking all precautionary measures possibly will help to greatly decrease the risk and increase the ability to react and respond to any and all vulnerabilities. Mitigation takes place to lessen the severity of the threat and vulnerability. This can be done by implementing a network intrusion detection software and network intrusion prevention software, referred to as the NIDS and the NIPS. By implementing these tools, it provides an alert when a vulnerability is either in attempt or has taken place. Thinking of the NIDS and the NIPS as a home alarm system, alerting the homeowner and alarm company if there is any threat so the owner can call the appropriate authorities. This is the same idea and purpose of the NIDS and NIPS. Firewalls add a layer of protection as the firewall monitors and controls incoming and outgoing network traffic. The firewall will block any unauthorized traffic attempting to gain access. The mitigation effort is to deter unauthorized users from gaining access and have the firewall stop access before damage is done. Data encryption is another mitigation method used by the organization. Data encryption is done to allow only the intended audience to be able to access and view protected data. There are different types of encryption. An example of one is using a program called Virtue to encrypt classified emails, requiring the recipient to use a password to gain access. This mitigation technique ensures that if the email does end up in the wrong hands, it cannot be opened without the password. This is a great mitigation method that should be done with any and all classified information. This matrix represents the vulnerabilities and their level of threat. Red representing the highest level of threat, yellow representing medium threat level, and green represents the lowest level of threat. During the mitigation process, the organization will have to accept certain vulnerabilities. By creating a vulnerability matrix, the threat level is mapped out, and the administration can then determine which to accept. In this case, the vulnerability threat that should be accepted is the outdated plugin vulnerability. This is a low-risk threat and will not have a major effect. While it is still important to update plugins for best performance, this is more of a customization aspect. Attack vectors come in the form of hardware, software, and human factor. These can be seen in the vulnerability matrix from the previous slide. Hardware-based attack vectors refers to the organization's essentials such as routers and switches. These physical hardware devices bring vulnerabilities such as end of life, meaning they are no longer supported by the vendor and no longer receive updates. The security of the hardware is then decreased, allowing for more vulnerability opportunities. Software-based attack vectors refers to the programs that are used within the computer. Computers run a higher risk if they have a software program that is constantly connected to the internet and not continuously updated. This is why it is important to update all software regularly. Human factor attack vector refers to one of the most difficult attack vector to regulate. Insider threats make up for a large portion of attacks. The best way to mitigate the human factor is access control, as discussed before. Common access cards are important in decreasing the risk of insider threats. The attribution analysis includes analyzing the source data, tools, scripts, and program, examining tactics, techniques, and procedures, as well as understanding motives. Analyzing all of the aforementioned attributions is important to understanding the vector. It is important to know about the hardware, software, and human factors in the organization. It is best to know as much as possible about the hardware and software used. In regards to the human factor, it is best to know their history and try to determine if they can be trusted. This completes the presentation. Thank you.